Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballerz? Welcome back to another video. It's been a little while since I've seen you guys in like this kind of format. You know, I got a lot of live deck profiles and coverage from the ARG Connecticut event that I went to this past weekend. Super awesome event, super fun event. I know a lot of you guys didn't come out because, you know, the format's stale and you didn't want to play against Storm, things like that. Totally don't fault you for that. Playing against Storm can get really tiresome, really annoying. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is the game that we love, and we do need you guys to come support the tournament scenes just so this game can stay alive. You know, at the end of the day, no one wants to watch this game, you know, die or you know, fall off, anything like that. So super duper awesome. It'd be super great to see you guys at these events. So with that being said, this video is going to cover, you know, my thoughts moving into the Atlantic City PPG event, and it's actually going to be a fresh new format, brand new fresh format. Clash of Fates is going to be legal for this format, so it's going to be, you know, a whole new pool of cards added. And, you know, we've all seen pretty much all the spoilers. This is not going to be a video just covering spoilers of the set. And we pretty much all know there's a lot of aggro hate cards coming out, and we're going to talk about a little bit of what I think how that's going to impact the format. And we're going to basically take it from ARG Connecticut to the Pro Play Games Atlantic City Tour. But before we get into that, if you guys are new to the channel, hitting that subscribe button, giving us a like would be super duper dope for you guys, especially if you like this video at the end. We do have a Discord server down in the description below for anyone who wants to just talk about anything Dragon Ball Super related. We have a super awesome community of players there, just always talking about Dragon Ball, always giving each other advice on decks and whatnot. Super awesome. And the other thing is, if you guys are longtime fans of the channel, helping me out on my Patreon would be super duper appreciated. I actually do have a couple Patreon shoutouts I gotta get to. I have a lot of people to shout out on Patreon. I'm only gonna do like 5 at a time just because, you know, I don't want the video to take like 30 minutes of just Patreon shoutouts. So shouts out to Ivana, Henry, Corbin, Francis, and Quincy. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. You guys are awesome. All right, so with that out of the way, we'll get into the meat of the video. So, you know, coming off of ARG Connecticut, like I said, super fun event. We did have an interesting top 8 over there. It was a smaller tournament, don't get me wrong, but I mean, at the end of the day, the typical meta deck's still top, so it's kind of important to just look at the data to see what's going on. So in the corner there, you'll see this nifty little pie chart that I made. So we had 3 different Hurrigarn variants in top 8 at ARG Connecticut. So that was actually pretty interesting. Only 1 Storm, 1 Red-Blue Hurrigarn, and 1 mighty Hurrigarn. My boy Larry, shouts out to him again for winning the ARG Connecticut event. This is a very real deck, so if you guys haven't really, you know, checked it out, haven't really seen what it's all about, you should check it out, because it's actually a super good deck, and it's going to be very live coming into the Atlantic City format, but a little bit more on that later. So we did have 1 Panda top cut, just your typical Chain Zeno deck, kind of similar to the Red-Blue Hurrigarn deck. I do have both the profiles for those up on the channel, so definitely check them out if you want to check for the differences, the disparities, things like that. But typically, your typical Chain Zeno control variant, 2 mill decks, 2 Geneva mill decks, very typical from what we've been seeing in top cut lately. We didn't see any kind of like mono blue Hurrigarn, but as far as mono blue goes, this was the deck that represented mono blue in this top cut. And then 2 droids, another deck we've typically been seeing a lot of in top cuts recently. So even though this was a smaller event, I mean, there was no real rogue strategy that kind of took this by storm. I mean, the mighty Hurrigarn deck was definitely a very new intro to the format. But if you've ever seen this deck be played, or if you've tested with this deck yet, you can see that it's really real. You know, you put the pressure on, you smash down the gas pedal turn 4 and turn 3, so you put on a lot of pressure. It's almost like another mid-range aggro deck, so definitely check that out if you haven't yet. Very real deck to know about. But basically, this is top 8 from ARG Connecticut. Like I said, we're moving into a completely new format come Pro Play Games Atlantic City Tour. So basically, what does this mean? So 3 decks, 3 out of this top 8 were more aggressive decks. You have, like, you know, your Storm variant, your mighty Hurrigarn variant that are just very strong aggro decks. And then you have like your Red-Blue Zeno deck, which is still trying to aggro the opponent and then rip all the advantage you give them off their life. We all know there are a lot of new hate cards coming out for aggro come Clash of Fates. We've got the Borgos, we've got the 2-drop striving to be the best Son Goku. I've talked about these cards in a bunch of videos. I'm not going to really spend too much time dwelling on what they do and, you know, how they're going to impact the game. I've talked about my opinion already. I think Storm is going to be very hindered by this. I don't think Storm is going to be able to, you know, have the free reign it's had for most of, you know, the past 2 to 3 formats. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's my opinion. I've had debates with people talking about the other side of the opinion, so I'm totally open to being wrong on this. Completely open to it. Not gonna lie, I could be completely wrong on this. It's just I've thought about it, I've tested it a bit, and I really do think that that's how it's going to, you know, play out. But regardless, so the rest of this is going to be, you know, my thoughts going into Atlantic City, so bear that in mind. I do think that there are going to be some strong aggro decks still in the format. You know, I do think that because of the 2-drop Goku and the Borgos, those 2 cards really handicap 2 of the best things Storm tries to do, which is untap energy often and attack with cheap attackers. Those 2 cards basically halt both those strategies. But then you have an aggro deck like Shenron Veggies, who, you know, they don't really rely all on 2-drop attackers. Their 2-drop attackers are important. You have like your green Caulifla and your 2-drop Kale that draws you cards, but you do actually have a built-in answer to the 2-drop Goku. which is your impeccable Super Saiyan combo. So that can attack active modes. It is a 15k unnegatable, so realistically your opponent has to drop like a super combo or an unbreakable to save it, but a lot of times if they're tapping out for that on 2, they're not going to have access to that. So in my opinion, Shenron Veggies will still be a very, very viable aggro deck if Storm is not. You also don't really untap energy a whole lot in Shenron Veggies, so the Borgos is really going to be a non-factor. And then you have the Mighty Hirudegarn deck. I don't mean to like shamelessly plug, maybe just a little wee bit, but you know, me and Larry put a lot of hard work into that deck and we're really proud of it. The deck's really, really strong. It puts on a lot of pressure turn 3, turn 4. You can drop as much as 3 guys on turn 3. You can swing twice with a Dignity Vegeta. You can swing with a crit Gotenks drawing a card, and you can drop like an overall play on top of that. So you can get some really, really insane turns just turn 3, turn 4 in that deck. So another good aggro pick in my opinion if you're looking to play aggro for this coming event, and I would recommend you do that unless you want to play, you know, the deck to beat. And in my opinion, the deck to beat is going to be Shenron Gogeta. So from what we've seen, you know, the past 2 formats, Shenron pretty much auto loses to anything playing Bardock Goten. It's kind of as simple as that. I mean, you're just putting out so many attacks. Like you're putting out, you know, 2, 4, maybe 6 attacks per turn when their opponent's leader is only at 10k and can't really, you know, awaken at low life, because that's not how the leader awakens. It awakens by having Dragon Balls in the graveyard. So you're putting on so much pressure that realistically the leader just crumbles under itself, and most of their big plays, unless you're playing against Shenron Veggies, most of their big plays are turns 4 and 5. So like I said, 2 cards that answer Storm's big strategies are being printed, you know, in this coming set. But we do have other aggro options, like I mentioned, Shenron Veggies and Mighty Hirudegarn. Shenron Veggies, I mean, as early as turn 2, you can have 3 to 4 guys on the board, so it can get really, really absurd and really, really, you know, fast for a Shenron Gogeta deck. So you can put on the pressure really, really fast. The Mighty Hirudegarn deck is like 1 to 2 turns slower than Shenron Veggies, so it can be a little bit more of a toss-up depending on who goes first and how each player opens. But again, if you're teched for the Shenron matchup, if you're playing, you're foreseeing hits, if you're playing multiple Dignity Vegetas in the game, like it's gonna be really hard for the opponent to, you know, defend off that pressure. So those are 2 really good aggro picks in my opinion if you want to try and combat Shenron Gogeta, if you're not trying to actually just play the deck, because in my opinion that will be the deck to beat. However, you know, these decks, no matter how good they are at being aggro, they're not as fast as Storm. Storm was just a broken problem. Storm was just so swarmy. Storm was just swinging so many times per turn. And, you know, if these decks are even just 1 turn slower than Storm was, it gets really weird, because Shenron Gogeta realistically only needs to make it to turn 4 to make its big play. That's Objection on 2, drop a Shenron Figure of Majesty on 3, and then you're just dropping your win con turn 4, which you're on 5 energy. So that's either your Gogeta Fusion or your Adult Class Vegeta, giving a crit, plowing through, you know, 8 life, and just winning that way. So even though this is a mid-range boss monster strategy, it only needs to make it to turn 4, which is actually a very, very fast game. You know, even if these aggro decks are winning on turn 3, turn 4, it can be really, really tough, you know, for them to win if they go second, which is why, you know, in my opinion, that these new hate cards are making aggro, you know, maybe not dead, but much more fair, but maybe too fair to the point that a broken card like Gogeta 7 is going to take a lot of advantage of that. So that's something to look out for. So now, like I said, if you're not looking to play Shenron, if you're not looking to play Shenron Gogeta especially, I have some hate picks for you that you can play to try and, you know, combat that meta, that projected meta that I'm thinking is going to just take over Atlantic City. So good hate picks. I've already talked about Shenron Veggies, Mighty Hirudegarn. Another good hate pick would be Chain Zeno. Chain Zeno just introduces a huge amount of variance to the game where you're playing against a combo deck, you know, Gogeta Shenron being the combo deck. You need to establish your Figure of Majesty, then the following turn you have to have the Goku in hand, the Vegeta in hand, and then you're going to fuse into your Gogeta 7, right? Chain Zeno wipes everything away. Nothing in Shenron can answer that outside of a Black Mass Sand, which you can play plenty of answers to in terms of like Planet M2 or the Baba Fortune Teller. So you have plenty of answers to Black Mass Sand, and then you just wipe away your opponent's combo potential, and then you just try and outgrind them from there. So that's a good hate pick strategy to combat, you know, Shenron Gogeta. You've also got Cell Chain, which is a little bit of a toss-up. This is not like the first thing I would pick to try and combat Gogeta 7, because Shenron decks can play very, very easily through their graveyard with World Pieces, with Child's Wishes, things like that. They can go pretty wide, so Shell Chain's not going to be the best hate pick, but it is one if you know how to play it properly. However, if you can get Cell Chain turn 3, turn 4, and then the follow-up turn, you can drop the Super 17 to make them ditch 2 more cards, and it's unnegatable swing. That's going to be really, really, really pressuring for the opponent. So I will say that it can be a very viable strategy to beat it. Then you've got your Janemba Mill decks. You can make Shenron deck out really, really fast, because, you know, they basically take 14 cards out of their own deck between 7 Dragon Balls, and each of those Dragon Balls pretty much drawing a card. So you can make them deck out really, really fast. However, the other thing, Janemba Mill Mono Blue almost acts like a control deck against the Shenron Gogeta decks, or Shenron decks in general, because you can mill out their win cons. If you mill out all their Gogeta 7s, which typically is only going to be 2, maybe 3 copies, if you mill them all out, they're going to have a really, really bad time. They're going to have to wait till 7 energy to World Peace, which means they're going to be so slow. They're going to be slow down. Even in a mono blue deck that doesn't really aggress too much, you can put on a crazy amount of pressure with a strategy like that. So another good pick. And finally, surprisingly enough, the final hate pick would be Storm. So you got a couple weird options here. I mean, so basically, it comes down to this. I could be completely wrong by everything I've said. That's one possibility. The other possibility is you play your deck to, answer these problems. You play your deck to answer the Borgos, which in my opinion, Borgos is going to be the, it's going to be easily obtainable because it's a common from the set. So that's going to be a card you're going to have to be very aware of if you're playing Storm. But you can play answers to it. You can play like the Beerus Leader. You can play like Massane. You can play a lot of answers to it. They're not the best answers, but you can play them. Or you can play, in my opinion, the worst answers to the 2-drop Goku. But then again, you have to think how many people are going to actually have this Goku if it is being a feature rare. There's rumors about it being 1 per box. There's rumors about it being 4 per box. So you basically have to bank your bet on how many people are going to have the cards that hate on aggro. And then if they don't have them, Storm's a good pick. Storm's a great pick because Storm auto beats Shenron in almost every single matchup. So some closing thoughts moving into the Atlantic City tournament. We were in a format that was pretty polarized by Shenron, Gogeta, and Storm. It was basically you were playing one or the other. If you were playing Storm, you had a really good matchup pretty much across everything. You could beat pretty much any deck at least 50-50. Most likely he's going to be in your favor. If you're playing Shenron, Gogeta, you pretty much had any mid-range matchup down pat. No mid-range matchup could touch you. No other Shenron mirror can really play with you, things like that. But now if Storm is becoming quote unquote dead, or probably just more fair. I don't think it's becoming dead. I think it's becoming more fair. Shenron Gogeta, which is a very unfair strategy, is gonna probably take over. And while that is just my prediction per se, not necessarily a matter of fact what's gonna happen, but it's my prediction as well as a lot of other people in the community that I've talked to and play tested with. That's going to be kind of unfortunate to see because it's so annoying to get your hand wiped with an uninteractable card. But it is what it is. In my opinion, we're so close to a fair and non-oppressive format, and I'm really excited to see how this shapes up after Atlantic City, because if that deck does dominate like I think it will, maybe Bandai will answer it. Maybe they'll do something about Gogeta 7. I mean, I don't think anyone enjoys facing that card or even playing the card. It's not that fun. I mean, it's just a card that comes down and says, oh cool, I do this really broken thing, and yeah, good luck to my opponent. That's not fun. I don't think in either player's aspect. People are going to play it because it's one of the best cards in the game by far. You can't fault people for playing competitive cards at a competitive tournament, but I do hope that Bandai answers that soon, especially if it does take over the tournament scene like I predict it will. However, there are some decent hate picks for it, but 'tis the nature of card games. The deck to beat, just like Storm was for so many months, the deck to beat usually will come out on top because either people are just going to play that deck or they're not going to play the hate picks and they're going to lose to that deck. So 'tis the nature of card games. I think it's going to be a very fun weekend anyway. I mean, Dragon Ball weekends are always awesome, especially to meet up with all the people from the community. It's always a great time. So I'm really looking forward to Atlantic City. If you guys are there and you guys are fans of the channel, definitely come up and say hi. I really want to meet you guys. Just tell me what you think about the channel. Say what's up to me. Let me know what decks you're playing. Let me know how you guys are doing in the tournament. I want to know all that good stuff. So hit me up. Come talk to me. I'll be there at Atlantic City this weekend, weather permitting, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about this video down in the comments below. I really do enjoy covering like meta analysis. I know I haven't done a video like this in super duper long because I've been doing a lot of other types of content, but I will be doing more stuff like this. So if you liked it, let me know that down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Joey. This is Carl TCG, and I'll see you at Atlantic City. Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballerz? Welcome back to another vid. Hang on. This is the end card, not a... Ah, screw it. I'm gonna play some Pokemon. See ya.